Hello, once again. I'm Doc Rodden, and this is Horror News Radio, the official Gruesome Magazine podcast. Back with me again this week are the scariest, goriest, bloodiest co-hosts on the net, and tonight we're reviewing Black Friday, featuring Bruce Campbell and others. It's an ensemble piece, so the others are important. All right. Joining me tonight is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Moore. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. You ready for the Black Friday sales coming up soon?
Yeah, we love toys.
Got to buy all those Blu-rays.
Blu-rays, $2 a piece. All right. Also joining you is this podcasting rock star and international cosplay queen, Vanessa. How you doing?
Doing great. I'm going to avoid Black Friday at all costs. Maybe from my computer.
The movie or the holiday? What are you saying?
She's all about Cyber Monday.
Yes.
That'll be the sequel to Black Friday.
What
Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday. Oh,
that has a different connotation, though.
It does.
Oh, I need
Wow.
to. I should have said it out loud. I probably could do that myself.
Copyright that really quick. All right. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to give our first impressions. That will be spoiler free, and then we will get into a discussion, and we'll go spoiler-ish. We're not going to go as spoiler heavy as we have in others, but then again, we might have to. And then we'll wrap things up with our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. But of course, before we do, we hope you enjoy not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you like him and you want to help us out, it's quick and easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button, the like button, or share with a friend. And that does wonders, and we greatly appreciate it. And of course, above all, we want to hear your comments down below. And stick with us toward the end. We do have some feedback to share. It's going to be something we're going to start doing. So fun. All right. What film are we talking about? Yes, it's Black Friday from Screen Media Films. It's available in theaters, VOD, and digital on demand with a D, not that I misspelled it, on November 19th, 2021. The synopsis is a group of toy store employees must protect each other from a horde of parasite-infected shoppers. On Black Friday. Directed by Casey Tebo, written by Andy Greskoviak. We'll go with that. Cast includes Devon, Sawa, Bruce Campbell, Michael J. White, Ivana Baquero, Ryan Lee, and Stephen Peck. Did I mispronounce Baquero? Vanessa?
Baquero.
Yeah, that's right. You did good. Thank you.
You confirmed her pronunciation.
No, I got sidetracked because when I first saw this, I saw Devon Sawa was in it. I was like, oh, cool. And then I forgot because I didn't see him. Is he the dad? Is that Devon Sawa?
Yeah.
Oh my God. He looks so different.
It's the guy from Chucky.
Didn't even recognize him. Sorry. I got totally sidetracked in that part.
No worries. All right, let's dive into our first impressions. And by request, Christopher G. Moore is going first.
By request, digital on Demon.
Demon.
By the way, that could be another title too. I shouldn't have said that out loud. Digital on
Giving 'em
Demon
away.
coming
Giving 'em
soon
away
from Cinema Field Productions. Yeah, Black Friday. This is a sort of a. I like some of the concepts of this because it kind of takes a lot of the stuff that we've seen before. You know, it has that sort of zombie element, but it also has a sci-fi element. It has a little bit of the Blob in it, but it also has a little bit of just, a little bit of Alien. So it combines all these different things, and I think the strength of this film has more to do with the effects more than anything else. I mean, we have these sort of we have some kind of interesting characters that there are parts where I was kind of frustrated with some of there's some really stupid decisions these characters make. But like most horror films, if people didn't make stupid decisions, we wouldn't have horror. But still, some stupid decisions. And I think as someone who worked 7 years in a Blockbuster Video and worked retail around the holidays, I kind of felt for these characters in this film, even if some of them were real assholes and were more just characters than characters to some degree, for some of them. But I think I loved the sort of some of the ideas. I think this is one of those films where going into it, I knew this is sort of like a real indie film, even though it has Bruce Campbell attached. But and it has that, it's very, and it has these highfalutin ideas it probably doesn't have the budget to really pull off. And I think luckily they had the strength of some of the effects in this that kind of like, to me, kind of anchors it enough to where I wasn't as bothersome with where it comes to characters or certain elements of it. The story's kind of wackadoodle in how it plays out. But I think for me, I was just always, and again, some of the decisions of the characters were like, really, that's the decision you're gonna make. But but it has so many really like, I liked Michael Jai White. I love him in anything he, just seeing him kicking ass. And even Bruce Campbell playing against type, which I kind of liked because we're so used to him playing a certain type. And then it's also kind of interesting seeing Devon Sawa, who was in the Chucky series, playing that which they have a blatant shot from the Chucky series on the TV in one scene.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, there's one scene where they're in the break room and the guy's eating the cake, and you see it playing on the television. But I do like that aspect of how Black Friday crowds are almost like zombie hordes, and they have that opening. I think it's interesting. The opening sort of credit sequence is just showing blurred out footage from actual footage of Black Friday crowds. And if you think about it, it's no different. So it's really a great holiday for something like this to happen, or probably a horrible holiday for it to happen because people wouldn't know any different. So I kind of like that aspect of it, how they're creating a story around a specific time of year where that kind of stuff, if some kind of zombie virus or aliens were injecting in people's mouths, how that would play out. So I don't know. I think again, it's low budget, and I think some of the story kind of plays out. And again, the characters in this, some of them are very characterish. But I think there's a moment towards the middle where there's like a little, where they're all huddling up and they're all talking about their individual issues and stuff that felt very heartfelt. And to me, that was the real heart of the film, that even if up until that point, I was like, I'm not sure about these characters, that moment actually kind of like, okay, that's a nice moment where I feel for these characters before the shit hits the fan again. And that kind of thing. So I don't know. I think it's a very low budget film. And I think going into it, as long as you know that, you'll understand it. But I think the strength of it is actually in the effects and some of the cool sort of characters, and also just how they, without being spoilerish, they're trying to be bigger than what their budget is, and I applaud them for that, even if it's not fully realized. And it would be kind of interesting if what happens after this.
Maybe.
But yeah, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting. It's kind of rough around the edges, but I think there's some strengths in there that kind of make me like it, even if there's certain issues I had problems with.
All right, that sounds good. All right, up next, Vanessa. What was your first impression of Black Friday?
Well, I don't disagree with a lot of what Chris said, but I probably found more faults in it than Chris did. I mean, maybe my expectations were too high because when I see Bruce Campbell, I set my expectations very high. um, and I think part of that's my fault. But some of the characters were just so incredibly unlikable that it made it hard to even not hate like them. Sometimes you hate a character so much you like them for that reason, and I was having trouble even feeling that when I was watching some of these characters. But like Chris was saying, it does have some redeeming qualities. Sometimes when they work, they really work together, and they do have some really fun ensemble moments, and we find out some interesting things about our characters along the way, especially Bruce Campbell. Now I think about it, but it's one of those movies that I think if you just go into it to have fun, you're gonna have a lot of fun. especially when you see some of the special effects, the oozy, gloppy, blobby kind of effects that Chris was talking about. And I do have to say, one of my favorite things was I really thought they used the lighting really well. I'm a fan. Good thing Dave's not here because he's not a fan of this, but I'm a fan of, the neon lights shining and the excuse me, the split tone, the pinks and blues, and it's just so evocative of horror to me, especially of like 80s horror of The Thing. This movie kind of reminds me of that a little bit. And then From Beyond, with the way the lighting is, so there it does have things that you can really see they're working towards the story that they're trying to put together. There's just a lot of things in it that kind of annoyed me a little bit more than I think I should have let them do. um but Black Friday can definitely be a bitch. I will say that.
Nice, nice. And I don't think you're talking about the holiday. All right. So I didn't really enjoy this movie as much, and I found it very strange. And I mean, there's some odd edits. There's some weird character choices, and then the ending is what? And I'm I couldn't get into the characters. I didn't really like our two or three leads that aren't Bruce Campbell. Um, I mean, they're fine as far as playing the role, but the role itself, there wasn't much to like about um, our guys, right? So let me get some names here for you. So Ken and what was the other guy's name? Chris? Was it Chris?
Mhm.
Ken and Chris, who are weird friends that go to work together, and then we have all the other ones like Archie is there, and I don't know. I didn't really relate or like any of them, and felt like they were trying too hard to make us relate and like them, and like what was it like? There's constantly skating around either on a skateboard or skates, and then he's always got his bottle, and it just got that it got a little old, tired, quick, and and it just seemed like they didn't have 100% grasp on the setting for me. And like Christopher, I worked retail when I was younger for too many moons at various different places, and it was horrible each and every year. It really is. It makes you dislike people so much when you do it. So I get it. But I don't know. And then on the other hand, the special effects, like you say, are good. There's a variety of creature effects, and when they do make their appearances, they're full on. They really work. They're exciting. And then there's the blobby things, like you said. But occasionally they aren't, especially toward the end, and we'll get into that. And that really made me question myself if I had fallen asleep and dreamed the ending, or did I see? Like, maybe I should watch it again. Maybe that isn't what happened, but I think it is. I think Vanessa confirmed it was. I'm like, I don't get it. But anyway, so not a huge fan. I don't think it's bad enough to get into like the bottom 10, but it might. It just might. I don't know. I don't think so.
It is time to start thinking about
It
that.
is that we'll be doing that within a month, and does there have been some stinkers, but there hasn't been really a lot of standout stinkers, right? Ones that are just like god awful, and this isn't. But that's the problem, is that some of these that should not have made the list might make. Anyway, I ramble on. Let's talk about the movie. So, Chris, I apologize. It feels like we're teaming up on you, but that's not the case.
Again, we all, again, like we always say, art is subjective. We all see different things, and I realize this film is very rough around the edges, but it's also a very indie film, and you can sort of see that. And a lot of indie films, they can get some big star, and that's probably where most of their money goes, is either to both effects and probably that one big star,
Yeah. And I do want to interrupt real quick because I didn't get to say this, and I meant to, is that I really appreciate that Bruce Campbell was not a day player, or at least he was edited in a way that didn't feel like it was a day player.
I was concerned because I think just seeing in the trailer, I thought, well, maybe they only got him, for that one day or whatever. But then I also remember I was following the director on Instagram, and they had like, because he's also a producer on the film, so I don't know to what extent he had.
So is Devon Sawa. So,
well, maybe that's how they.
Maybe
that's part of the becoming a part of it, is by being a producer. But they had Bruce Campbell on his last day, and he was like thanking everybody in the crew and stuff. Because I think that last scene that happens on like the roof, I think they must have been his last day.
Oh.
But yeah, it's it's like some of those films, like when you go look at some of the films from the 80s. This film feels very 80s.
It does.
And I think if it came out in the 80s, we probably would not be as hard on it.
See, like in the 80s though, our antagonist characters would have had a personality, right?
Well, but there's a lot of 80s films that I love. The characters are very tropish. There's not really much to them, but it's just more just the feeling of it. And I think this film feels it has that 80s thing, but also there's some really stupid decisions, and I think the overarching theme of like Black Friday crowds being the way they are, and the way that the one guy at the end is like, I know how to talk to like if you have some monster who's like a thing,
he's a manager.
yeah, because you have some monster that we're already in spoiler.
Yeah, we're in spoilers.
Right, okay. When you have a monster who's an amalgamation of all these different evil Black Friday customers, I think talking to it as an assistant manager is not how you're going to defeat that monster. I'm sorry. And I thought that was just stupidity. To the point where I was almost where I was rationalizing, oh, maybe this monster has hypnosis on this guy, but no, this guy's just an idiot. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of moments that don't kind of make sense of why characters are doing certain types of things, and even the logic of how they were moving around in the building didn't make sense. I was like, I'm not sure.
That didn't make any sense.
I think the way the layout I didn't really understand. Okay, what part of the store are they in? Are they in the back room? Or are they? Yeah. So I think that logistically, there's a lot of issues with how the story plays out, to where it almost seemed like, okay, well, I think maybe this plays into your thought, Doc, of how like maybe it was parts of it seem kind of thrown together, I guess, because it doesn't make kind of sense of why it felt like they were going back and forth in certain parts of the building. So I think that kind of confused me, but, and then like certain characters do certain things, and I would actually get mad at the guy. Why are you stopping and looking at that? Just keep moving, you idiots. And I kept thinking there was going to be a bigger overarching thing with the OCD guy than what it was, who's like, okay, how many times?
They kind of dropped that after a while, didn't they?
They dropped
but it still kept playing into it. It's like, ooh.
But the characters, the problem I had, I think, like there is a story structure problem, like you're talking about, definitely in the editing or however it came out. But like none of these characters were likable. You don't even have like one. Maybe the girl, she's probably the most kind of palatable, but everybody sucks. And there's a scene, well, since we're in spoilers, the scene where they have the Chris guy tied to the chair, like I would have freaking murdered everyone if someone had tied me to a chair like that. And then people aren't letting them go. And maybe that's the emotion that he's trying to elicit as you're watching that, because even internally they're having a mob mentality, against him because they don't like him or whatever. So they secured him to the chair. But like that was driving me freaking nuts. That scene was killing me.
Well, and it felt like it felt like they were trying to reference a thing a little bit, with that.
Yes, very much.
Um,
Very
and
much.
I think this film pulls from all those different areas. Like literally, when you have like this pink glowing globule that's growing in the store, it's very blobbish, Um, but it definitely it has like the zombie aspect of it. Um, and even some of the full on monsters feel like variations of other monsters we've kind of seen. But I do like the aspect of it. It has almost like a jellyfish thing that comes out the mouth.
Ugh, so
It's
gross.
very
Yeah.
it's very
Alien.
oceanic, if that's a word.
It
Comes
is
out.
now.
But I like that kind of aspect of it. It's almost like a jellyfish's type thing that goes to your mouth and does like its alien thing. So a little bit of aliens there as well. So it has all these different aspects of it. So I think again, I think the one saving grace, even though I like Bruce Campbell and Michael Jai White, I was kind of upset when his character gets off because I was like, this is the only character who's like the badass character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And
guess he was a likable character.
Yeah, but he was a target as soon as he was the only badass.
Well,
character.
yeah.
Was
And I was thinking, oh great, the one badass black character is gonna get killed
Yeah.
off. And I was like, no. And then we're stuck with the asshole character.
The
Brian.
manager.
Yeah, the
Brian.
manager.
Oh my god, he was actually funny though. Well, especially like when he was out in the
funny,
store.
but he was to me he was like a variation of the woman that's always getting the best employee
Yeah.
award.
Yeah.
He was just like that overtly like, oh, I know better than you type character. And wasn't really as fleshed out, I guess. But then you have other people that we have that one moment which I kind of like the moment where the power goes out and they find all these
Glow sticks,
neon dinosaur and all these things. I thought that was visually that made for a really nice moment because almost like a campfire moment. But all these little
that was a really good character moment too when all of them were around.
That's to me, that's the moment that kind of saved it for me. Because I probably was in the same camp as you two going up into that moment. Because I felt like we have these characters they're not really as much chemistry between these characters. They're just little, characters that we would normally see in these kind of environments, and that you'd find in like sitcoms or any of that kind of stuff. And they're just working against this bigger evil. But then you have that moment where we actually get more background information about these characters, and they all sort of come at each other, and we learn about all these different people and their different issues and stuff. And I thought that was a nice character moment that kind of worked for the film and made it a better film because of that.
Yeah.
Now, but when it's so rough around the edges
Right.
with everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. I want to say quickly that I did not buy the relationship between Ken and Marnie, and it also felt a little. And I don't know, guys, back me up or tell me I'm wrong. It felt a little icky.
It was a weird thing to add in there in that way, and then to spend so much time on it later on, too.
Well, I think I didn't feel icky to me. It just felt like those moments where when people automatically make assumptions, like when you're going out with friends or whatever, and you go eat and you make assumptions there's more between you than what they are and that kind of thing. So to me, I think it plays into his character when we learn he just, like people in high school, they think you're a big thing, or because you're working in this working environment, because you're working over other people, you automatically, oh, I'm a badass, and you make yourself out to be that way. But when you leave the place, you're nobody,
I don't know.
So
I just feel like they made it feel weird, though, more towards the end, not so much in the beginning. When
Well,
they were
yeah, I
flirting in the
think-
beginning, fine.
Yeah.
But they
Well, yeah.
spend so much time on it in the end that it just felt kind of not icky. I wouldn't say it felt icky. It just they made it feel weird because clearly she's of age, she's got to be like 20
Yeah,
or whatever, but it just felt kind of like shitty, I don't know. They
Yeah,
were just
I would go with that. That feels accurate.
Well,
I don't know.
I think also in the process of revealing things about the characters, it made you realize, okay, none of these characters are really not that good of a people.
Yeah, none of them are great. Everyone's
Especially when they're calling the guy out. If he cares so much about his kids.
The guy that I Love Toys, he was happy, right?
Bruce Campbell.
Brian. No, Bruce
Brian.
Campbell. Bruce Campbell was faking. He was happy, and he faked himself out. I kind of like that, but yeah, most of the people were like, but it. Yeah, there's a lot that just confused me. Like the beginning where the one guy's putting up the sign, and what happened to him? And and I'm like, was that in this store or was that in another store? I never really.
My only issue is like,
oh yeah,
is when the shoppers come in and you have this one shopper, she's putting all the board games into.
She just couldn't anything.
A lot of the shopping decisions didn't make sense to me, and that was the main thing. Okay, no, that's not how that.
No.
Why would anybody buy those things? I think that was the only time I was like, no, that's not how shoppers work on Black Friday. They're just not going to buy every
they're going
board game on the shelf. They're going to go get I think there was empty video game console boxes because you could tell by the weight when they lifted it. But I think, yeah, you need to show a little bit more things that people would be going crazy for, although that crazy bit with the teddy bear.
The teddy.
Yeah, that was weird too, right?
Tower Danny or whatever.
The one that, yeah.
Everything was so negative in this movie. Everybody hated their jobs. Everybody hated their lives. Everybody hated the customers. The toys were depressing. Like, it's Black Friday. You're not at home with your family. Like, this whole movie was just about how awful everything is.
Yeah,
the only option is to fucking to die in a weird alien attack.
Yeah, even that weird Furby from hell had a story arc, didn't it?
Who?
Talking about the big
teddy bear? Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't he helped save the day, right?
Kind of. He started a fire, right?
The Chekhov's bear.
Chekhov's bear. Chekhov's bear. All right, there you go. There's a movie reference for you. All right, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let's give it our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And Christopher G. Moore, sir, you are up first.
Yeah, I think this is, I can probably understand how some people may have problems with this, and it wears its indie roots on its sleeves.
It does.
To me, this feels like something that could have easily been made in the 80s. It has that kind of feel about it when it comes to how everything comes together. And I think it has. There's a bigger. There's a bigger thing to this than what the budget could really pull off, especially by the end of it, which. I don't know. I kind of like okay. I mean, sometimes you just say we got this balls out idea of how this is going to end, and I kind of like that, even if it's just it's, it's very low budget, cheesy, visual effects by the end of it. But it's also kind of crazy, wacky that because you have almost like the thing aspect of it to where you have these people creating this big monster, But I don't know. I think it is one of those things where I think the biggest saving grace is the effects. I think
the effects are good.
Robert Kurtzman and some of the stuff they did in this, I think, really works for me. And then it ended up being like whenever I'd get annoyed by the characters, is like, hey, let's see more of that crazy effects again. Just the way I was trying to think of what the monster's face looked like. It kind of reminded me of
had a beak,
something.
Didn't it?
A
Crazy
chicken.
beak.
A chicken with teeth.
Well, it had like these jaws that reminded me of another type of effects creature, but I can't think of it right offhand. Something from the 80s probably. But I think a lot of that stuff kind of worked well, and I think even if some of it probably might have, especially the glowing globule, which, I mean, you think about it, it could have easily been made in different ways using plastic bags and stuff, but it worked well for what they were creating in it.
Didn't it
And I
kind of
think-
look like the cotton candy from Killer clown.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it looked a little bit like that, you know. And I mean, to me, I think that story wise, that aspect of it, you know, of it just not just being people being infected by a virus, but being infected by this alien virus, which is going to create this bigger monster. I kind of like that aspect of it, you know, especially when you have the overlying theme of these crowds of people coming together, you know, in mass and causing hysteria and craziness. So yeah, I think you know, and I think Bruce Campbell, just seeing him playing a different character, you know, granted, I love my Ash stuff. I wanted to be the badass character, but
Yes.
I kind of like seeing him in sort of a different character. I mean, he's more of he's definitely, he's a little bit of that loserly character that we know in Ash, but this is just more just full on loser, nerdy loser, I guess. So it's kind of cool to see him like that. And also Michael Jai White. I just really wish he could have survived the rest of the
He
film.
was cool.
It was
Because he was the only badass that was using all his weapons and stuff and shooting nail guns at the things. And like, I wanted to see more of that, because then we're stuck with these jerk characters that we don't really care about.
Yeah.
Although I really want somebody to cosplay the female monster with the little chain.
Grandma necklace.
Grandma
grandma
monster. I really want somebody to cosplay the grandma monster, because I kind of like that. As for a rating, I'll give it a 3. I mean, I think it's a serviceable film. I think it's got its moments that make it stand out, and other moments that sort of like work against it just because of the indie elements of it, and that's going to happen. But I think there's a lot of things that help to elevate it when it comes to the effects, and you think people like Michael Jai White and Bruce Campbell that kind of make it better than other films if it didn't have those elements. Like if you took out some of if you didn't have that Kurtzman effects in it, this movie would be trash. So, but I think other things kind of work for it. But yeah, some of the character moments are kind of wackadoodle for me at moments. It kind of made me mad, but then the effects were like, ooh, cool, shiny.
Squirrel.
As for favorite scene, the
suspense is killing me.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of I don't know. I like the grandma creature. I think when the grandma creature, when the guy realizes that the creature chasing after him is the grandma creature, it says, "I'm gonna kill you all. I'm gonna come after all of you and trash your place," or whatever. I just thought that was a nice little moment where that Grandma Karen from earlier is now the creature that's chasing after him. And which is just the visual of this creature with this little grandma necklace around her neck, I thought was really unique and fun to see. So I'll say the grandma creature realization.
Okay, that works. All right, Vanessa, you are up next. Your final thoughts, your score, and your favorite scene.
This movie is the personification of the monster within, right? Fueled by capitalism. We are the monster, as evidenced by what happens in the end, by what we see in the end. So if you think about it, it's a really deep movie, right?
Keep going. That's my work. Go.
No, it had some funny parts. I think what disappointed me most of all overall is I just didn't think that jokes were that funny. I think this could have done a lot to be saved by maybe a little bit of better writing, or if the jokes were timed a little better in the editing. I don't know. I think that's what really fell short to me, because I think the effects are great. I honestly think, like Chris was saying, the effects elevated this movie beyond what it was, 100% for sure. And I really appreciated getting moments where they focus on the monsters. You see the face, you see the goop, you see the drool, you see those kinds of things. And a lot of times, especially with indie horror, you don't get that because they can't pull it off in a way that's believable, right? But because they had Kurtzman on this, like you get to see it all, and it's really good. So that was definitely fun to watch. And another cool thing about this was the music was done by Patrick Stump, who is lead singer of Fall Out Boy, which
Oh,
I am a huge fan of. So
Oh
I
wow.
thought that was, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool to see. I don't know if it's his first foray into doing any kind of movie music. But yeah, I thought that was pretty fun to see somebody I like doing something like that. Um, but I just it just felt kind of like a lot of the other movies like this, a lot of the other indie horror comedy movies, they just feel a little bit like a kind of a little empty sometimes. Like a little something is missing, and I felt like this suffered from that. Um, but it did really show how much Black Friday sucks
Black
and
Friday
how we should just
sucks.
abolish it altogether, or else we're going to become one giant homunculus
Alien monster.
purchasing creature. I don't know. Black Friday monster. um, so with that, I'm gonna give this one a 2. Um,
Okay.
and that definitely is going towards I can appreciate the movie references, and I love the lighting, and I loved the way they use the special effects. Like I can definitely appreciate that kind of stuff in this. Um, but with all that said, my honest God favorite scene, and I think maybe because it's a bright shining actual Bruce Campbell moment in the movie, but they're all in the storage room or whatever. Everything's gone to hell. Someone says, "Well, at least things couldn't get worse," and the power goes out, and Bruce Campbell's character starts laughing, and he's like, "Come on, you got to admit that's funny."
Mhm.
It just felt like such a classic joke, and it was funny. It was a funny moment to fit like that with what that was just said and everything. So yeah, that's probably my standout line from the movie.
That's pretty precise. That's pretty good. I like that. All right. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this. I like the cast. I like the effects and little else. I mean, if you want to see a retail horror film, go watch Chopping Mall. Um,
Wow.
so I don't know. Like Vanessa said, there's something missing here. There's an element that didn't quite gel. And I think it's just the story isn't tight. There is you don't really get the gist of their location. You don't get. I mean, it's a toy store, but it's not that you don't believe it's a toy store, but I don't know if I really felt it right. And it just I don't know. I feel like I'm looking for something to say that isn't there. Looking for a positive. I just didn't like it. The characters were bad, but yet Bruce Campbell and Devon Sawa were fine. Even though I didn't like their characters, they were fine. They didn't disappoint. Michael J. White is probably the better. Ryan Lee and Ivana Baquero. Baquero. We're fine as well. But at the same time, I'm not going to say like go see this because they're in it. Sorry. I'm going to give this a 1.5. One and a half.
Wow.
1.5. It's not a fave. I apologize to everybody that made the movie, but So, what is a favorite scene in this? And I think it's when the one guy gets his face bashed in, the zombie guy that gets his face, and then he pops back up and he becomes the full creature in front of them. And and somebody said that the line was they don't stay dead. I know they don't stay dead, but yeah. just the transformation scene and having that beaky looking fangs come out of the face, and it really I don't know, that was a good scene.
It's an interesting creature design, right?
Yeah.
When you think about it, because the sounds that they made sounded kind of like dinosaurs a little bit, and then if you think about a beak with teeth, like that's
Dinosaurs,
kind of like birds, right?
A
Dinosaurs.
little bit of predator too.
Right?
yeah,
They
or
they got
a
all
little,
kinds of stuff in this movie.
a little bit of Slee Stacks, but that's a different character altogether. I also like that the creature, the people at some point would end up like being absorbed into the blob. And that was fascinating how they were doing that. But
I did laugh the moment. I think Bruce Campbell is one of the people who's like they never stay dead or something like that. And I was thinking Evil Dead the whole time when he said that. I was like, I felt like that was definitely a moment where they're making a little, even though there's elements that are already homage to Evil Dead with,
well, the concept alone, right? It's
but,
hard. It's hard to have Bruce Campbell in a retail setting and not think S-Mart, right?
Yeah, but then I kept thinking like when he says he never stay dead, it almost feels like he's some relative of Ash who knows through the connection with the family.
Yeah, is it Jonathan Williams? Maybe it's Jonathan Williams, right? Cousin Jonathan Williams.
Because even when he's stomping on that little lid on top of the building, it's almost like the little basement door in Evil Dead
doing a speech,
the hand coming out.
Yeah.
All right, well, there you go. That's our review of Black Friday. Like we said, we'd love to hear your comments down below, and we do have some feedback from a couple of previous episodes, so I want to share those with you really quickly. First up is Jeremiah the Pisces, interesting name, talking about the film Antlers that we reviewed. It said, my sister's been asking about this movie. She loves horror, and it got her attention. And then I need to see it. If it got her attention, then I know I need to see it. Sorry, there's no punctuation in this. LOL. He had got the movie confused with a Wendigo movie that was out a year or two ago called The Wretched.
Yeah, that's a totally different.
It is a totally different movie. But there you go.
I would go see Antlers. Go see Antlers. That's.
I still need to see it. Yeah,
my top 5 for the year.
Yep. So hopefully Jeremiah and his sister got to go see it. If you did, let us know what you thought. All right, the next film we have Carlo Villafrente. It's about last night in Soho, and me personally, I apologize in advance to the one and only Christopher G. Moore. Last night in Soho's great second act is bookended by a cliched first act and sunk completely by a frustratingly ham-fisted, terrible last act. Wright does an amazing job asking questions and unfortunately fails spectacularly in answering them in anything approaching a satisfying way. It is so clunky and stupid that it almost it feels like a completely different movie. Disappointing movie, his worst one. Oh, wow. The silence is deafening, folks. But we know how Chris feels. I really enjoyed it.
It's fine. It's not, every movie is not everybody's favorite. Exactly. I don't know how many times I will love something and there'll be somebody who hates it. I mean, I've had some people online that was talking badly about Ted Lasso, how it's not a good show, or things that so it's fine. Everybody has their own opinion on stuff.
How do we get to Ted Lasso? That's awesome.
Well, no, I'm just saying that there's always people, even the stuff that gets the most accolades and people talk about it is so great. There's going to be people that don't like it. I mean, there's how many times have I said I cannot stand Motel Hell, but there's some people.
Oh, there's people that love that. We know people that love that.
And I saw a picture today they showed a Richard Brake's character in the Monsters movie, and you know how much I'm not a big fan of Rob Zombie, but there's all these people posting, oh man, I can't wait to see another film with you in it, another Rob Zombie film. And so there's people that love everything, so that's fine.
Like Richard Brake, though.
But yeah, I mean, everybody comes into a film with their own thoughts, their own way they process the story or how they see things, and that's fine.
And that's
for me. I loved it. It's my favorite film of the year.
Art is subjective, right?
And art is very subjective, and that's fine. I'm never gonna get on someone's opinion of certain things because we all
Very
look
good.
at it from different perspectives, and that's what makes us human. That's what makes us. If everybody liked the same thing, I think this world would be very boring.
Yeah,
You know,
this podcast would be very
we
boring.
wouldn't have so much fun talking crap about Motel Hell if
Yeah.
everybody hated Motel Hell.
Yeah, Vanessa, did we ever get your reaction to Last Night in Soho?
No, I didn't make that one, but I loved it. I loved it. I loved the subject matter. I loved the twist at the end that I was not expecting at all. I find it interesting that someone would say the third act is clunky because it just seems like a misunderstanding of how the plot is unfolding. And it's okay to not know what was going to happen or something different happen than you thought and it still be good. Um I don't know. There was a lot. There was just so much about it. You talk about lighting, you talk about the story that it's telling, you talk about, you know, the worship of the past and how dangerous that can be, when you glorify the past and don't live in the present at all, how dangerous that can be on personally and with your social relationships. You might just try to stab somebody in a library. Who knows?
No. Yeah. I will, in defense of Carlo, I have heard other people say similar things. I personally don't agree, but I've heard a lot of people be divisive about this.
I've seen
everything always.
When it first came out, there was still there was a few reviewers and stuff that wrote some kind of negative stuff about it, So again,
but I think
fine.
you also have to be a fan of what the subject matter that he's pulling from, that he used to create this movie. If you're not a fan of that kind of stuff, because he's pulling from real hardcore 70s horror thriller kind of stuff.
60s.
60s, yeah, right. So that's not palatable for everyone, especially today. So if that's not your thing and someone's making something based on that thing, I can totally understand how you wouldn't. It just wouldn't be your bag.
Well, it's stylistically, I mean, look, if you look back at like Suspiria from back in the day, I mean, visually it's a beautiful film, but you could easily crap on it because of the other elements, So I mean,
the plot.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's not the strength is in its visuals and the music,
Yeah.
And I think this has a visual style that may be off-putting to some people, and maybe the ending, how it ends, may be off-putting,
Might be.
And but that's that's cool and fine, I think it's good that we can discuss things as long as we can all discuss it in a cordial way and we can all agree to disagree. That's always great. I think when people try to say, oh, well, my opinion's more important to yours, or this film is trash no matter what you say, that's when I get kind of irritated. I mean, we had issues with that in The Last Jedi, where some people are just like, you're wrong. I still have friends that are Star Wars fans are like, how can you say that movie is good? And I'm like, I just hate when people say that. It's like everybody has their own opinion, and you can see different things, and you can argue until your face turns as blue as a Smurf, but that doesn't make either of us right. We have our own opinions, and that's cool.
But the last thing about
go ahead.
Last Night in Soho, I really, really, really love that at its core, it's just a really cool haunted house movie.
Yeah, it's a ghost story.
I just really, really love that.
Oh, and you should check out on YouTube. There's the director has a breakdown of some of his favorite scenes from his own movies, and he includes a couple of scenes from The Last Night in Soho. But he goes through, Shaun of the Dead. He goes through each film and points out things I didn't know about some of his films. That little. Things like Shaun of the Dead, the pizza place that's next to it is Bub's Pizza, because it's a reference to Bub from
Dawn of the Dead.
Day of the Dead.
Day of the Dead. Yeah,
Day of the Dead. So there's little things you didn't know about, like Baby Driver and how he utilized things like visual cues to go along with the music. Like there's a scene where you have a bright light that shines on the back of the car, and they emphasize that because it goes along with the beat. Things like that I'd never known about. But he also points out a couple of things, including the dance sequence in Last Night in Soho, because he's big on what they call a Texas switch, where you have an actor come out from and another actor you
Take
know,
their
goes
place.
in their
Yep.
place and stuff. So, but that whole scene, the dance scene, is, except for one thing, visual effect, is all one long scene.
Yep. That's
cool.
really cool. All right. Well, we want to thank Jeremiah and Carlo for their feedback, and we encourage everyone else to give us some feedback. Leave
Yeah.
it down below. Also, want to thank Christopher and Vanessa for joining me tonight. This was a great and fun discussion. Thank you so much.
Yeah, fun as always.
Mhm.
All right. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night. Shop smart.